Some new video was released of fellow Navy SEALs to Eddie Gallagher, who's this guy right here, describing him and, talking about how he's a convicted war criminal and Trump just pardoned him, but they're going to give you their opinion on this guy. Take a look.
I think he just wants to kill anybody he can.
Disturbing, vivid claims made by Navy SEALs against their own platoon chief, Edward Gallagher.
In your mind, is what happened that day and what happened with all these other incidents war crimes?
Yes.
In interviews with investigators, text messages, and body cam footage obtained by the New York Times, the SEALs claim Gallagher killed a captive, semi-conscious ISIS fighter.
He just pulled out a knife and started stabbing him.
Then they say he pressured his platoon to pose for a photo. The SEALs also allege he targeted women and children.
I saw Eddie take a shot at probably a 12-year-old kid.
In a statement reported by the New York Times, Gallagher said he reacted to the videos with surprise and disgust, and that the SEALs made up blatant lies about him. The claims led to multiple charges in 2018 against Gallagher. A military jury acquitted him of all but one. He was convicted of posing for the photo and demoted. But in a controversial move, President Trump stepped in and restored his rank.
These are tough people, and we're going to protect our warfighters.
I think the president's behavior in connection with this case and several others is beneath contempt.
The president's involvement has been criticized for hurting the credibility of the military justice system.
My hope is that the military justice system will emerge from this dark period not only intact, but touch wood, the better for it.
We don't know whether the president knew the details of the testimony when he made his decision, but his support for Gallagher hasn't wavered. And in an Instagram post yesterday, Gallagher made it clear that support is mutual. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Washington.
Now, I want you to reflect on this for a second, because I think this is a really important point. When you talk about the Navy SEALs or the Marines or, whatever, the infantry, the Air Force, the whole system is relies on not just the chain of command and hierarchy, but also this strong sense of brotherhood. And I know from talking to people who've been at war where they describe you're at some point, you don't even necessarily view it as I'm fighting for my country. You view it as I'm fighting for the person next to me in the trench. That's what this is all about. I'm fighting for my brothers and sisters in uniform. And there's this strong bond, this real sense of belonging and brotherhood, and these people would do anything for one another, and they'd lay down their lives for one another. So the fact that you have other Navy SEALs, and by the way, it appears to be almost unanimous that all the other Navy SEALs are dude, this guy is off. I think that is super telling. That's so telling. Is it possible that we live in some sort of sci-fi spy novel reality where the truth is flipped on its head and all these people who are calling him out are smear merchants and they're trying to get him on something and pin him? I mean, I guess that's theoretically possible, but I think it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. So they described him as, quote, evil. These are other Navy SEALs talking. Guys who really never turn their backs on their other brothers and sisters in uniform. Evil. He wanted to kill anybody that he can. One of them was asked, the stuff that he did, does it amount to war crimes? The answer was a snap, yes. And then, the thing to me that really shocks me and just takes my breath away is the fact that people keep bringing up, he was convicted of killing an ISIS fighter. That's what they keep saying. And all the mainstream media is doing the Republicans' bidding and the propaganda for the Republicans by repeating that claim over and over. Oh, he stabbed an ISIS fighter, killed an ISIS fighter who was injured, killed an ISIS fighter who was injured. This is what they say over and over and over and over and over. Dude, he killed women and children. I remember in the original article on this, because we covered it on the show, they spoke about how he killed, I think it was a woman casually walking down the street wearing, I think it was a flower hijab. And he murdered her. He just shot her. because he had no regard for the civilian lives. He didn't care. I don't know, they're all part of the enemy. They're all brown. They're all, Middle Eastern. Who cares? That's his mentality. That's what the original reporting stated. So the fact that everybody keeps, and again, this was the Republican propaganda trick where they just kept, shift the conversation away from the wanton murder of civilians and talk about the thing that he did, which is, even though it's still wrong, it is the most debatable of the things. An injured ISIS fighter and he stabbed him in his neck, therefore giving him an out where he could say, I don't know, I was trying to take him out of his misery, or whatever. It's an ISIS fighter, so plenty of people are not going to have sympathy and they're going to be like, I don't care. He could have done whatever he wanted to. That's the enemy. Go get the enemy. But the fact that that's now become the centerpiece of the conversation is a giant propaganda win for Eddie Gallagher, and it makes him seem like he's a lot less guilty than he really is. So, I wouldn't talk about that aspect of what he did, or if you do, that should be a side point. The main focus should be his Navy SEAL brothers and sisters who never turn on each other. Across the board, they're calling him evil. He wanted to kill anybody that he can. Yes, he committed war crimes, and he literally targeted women and children. And there are specific examples of that. And this is who Donald Trump pardoned. By the way, why? Why? You want to know why? Because this is the logical conclusion of decades of brainwashing about American exceptionalism. That's what that is. When you really drill into people's heads, like, no, America is better than everywhere else. Americans are better than other people. And we have the most wonderful intentions of all time when we invade places, destroy places, bomb places. So how can you blame me if one of our soldiers, how could you blame him if he ends up killing people? The default assumption is always going to be in the minds of Trump and all the hardcore American exceptionalist Kool-Aid drinkers. The default assumption is always going to be, he was doing that to protect us, and he was doing that to defeat the enemy. So since the intentions are fine, what are you going to do? You got to break a couple legs to make an omelet, right? That's the mindset. The mindset is they don't really count. Civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan and the Middle East, they don't really count. They don't count. They're not equal to like a little white kid. Come on, be serious. That's the default assumption. When you think that every war you fight is like just and on the right side of history, then the details are just noise. They're irrelevant. Because you gotta keep your eye on the bigger picture. The bigger picture is we're America, we're the world's police, we're the indispensable nation. Anything that happens that our people do that's wrong or bad is not really wrong or bad. It's just a mistake. That's the mindset. And Trump fully believes that. And unfortunately, a lot of the media class believes that. But now we've crossed the line where it's like the most egregious war crimes, where even other Navy SEALs were like guilty. Didn't matter to Trump. Didn't matter to Trump. And in a weird scenario at the last minute, somebody else stepped up and said, no, I killed that ISIS fighter. Well, that's weird. That's really weird because it appeared to be unanimous the way everything unfolded. Appeared to be unanimous. And by the way, we also keep casually referring to this person, the one that he was on trial over, the one that he killed. We keep casually referring to them as an ISIS fighter. We don't even know that that's true. Was there a trial? Do we know for sure? No, of course not. But this is, again, to the hardcore American exceptionalist, it's all noise. None of that really matters. What matters is he's a good guy. He meant well. And, hey, if you made a mistake, you made a mistake, but should he suffer for it? That's the mindset. And again, according to his own brothers and sisters in the military, in the Navy SEALs, they were like, oh no, he's evil, and they were war crimes, and he did it on purpose, and he went after women and children, and he wanted to kill anybody that he could. So, again, we shouldn't be too surprised because this is the logical conclusion because we didn't go after Bush. We didn't go after Cheney. We didn't go after Rumsfeld. We didn't go after Bolton. We didn't go after the various war criminals in the neoconservative Bush administration, which waged an illegal war in a country that didn't attack us and killed minimum 200,000 civilians. We didn't go after the torturers, people who we know tortured. We didn't go after them. And it just became a disagreement. So now we're at this point. The wanton, brazen murder of innocent civilians from the military, it's just a disagreement. Some are pro-murder, some are anti-murder. What are you going to do?